All right, everyone. Planet Her is here. We're on the planet, and who is the owner of this planet? It's Doja Cat. Who else would it be? Doja Cat just put out, and this is actually her third album. And something that I'm still coming to terms with Doja Cat is that she's still a fairly new artist. Like her first album came out in 2019, no, not 2019, 2018. Last album came out in 2019, and now it's 2021, and she already has 3 albums under her belt. And she's like a huge name in the music industry right now. And to talk about her new album, Planet Her, I decided to bring on Mr. Nick Alley here. Nick, how you doing?
I'm great, David. I'm so excited to be here to talk about Doja and Planet Her and everything in between.
Oh yeah. How big of a Doja fan would you say? Like, have you been following her for a while?
No. I've honestly gone back because obviously when there's superstars on the rise, I always like to, keep an eye out of whatever, and obviously Say So blew up last year.
Mm.
But in a lot of like blogs and stuff I follow, she's always been sort of like a meme-ish artist slash someone on the rise. And then like she just kind of like blew up, and seeing her perform all these live like performances that she puts on, like she's got an X factor to her that not
Mm-hmm.
artists have. So just to see it go from like that one song to like going back and seeing like how Mood just became like her song that broke out for
Yeah.
people. And now she has one of the songs of the summers, and like just putting out this huge album with, huge artists that are established, like The Weeknd and Ariana Grande, like just mind blowing. So obviously with industry support, you got to pay attention to someone like this for sure.
Yeah, she's definitely been getting a lot of backing from people. Like she's been up for a few awards. She won a couple of awards too. So like in like the short time she's really been the public eye. She's really coming up. And something too about this album that I found really interesting, and I'll get your thoughts on this too, Nick, is that a reviewer had said that this album is like Doja's means of entering her imperial phase. And I think that's appropriate because as we just kind of mentioned, she's like kind of taken over now with all these things that she has going on.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded to it already, like with the inception of like a new or a big single and having a few tracks like Streets blow up like organically that wasn't even pushed as a single. This is really like her first step into the foray of like, okay, people are watching you now.
Mm.
And if anything, there's a good old saying where you have your whole life to put out your first album and only 6 months to put out your second. In this term of things, it's obviously second and third, but still, you gotta, strike while the iron's hot. And I think she really went for it. And her whole team's marketing and
Hmm.
everything like that just absolutely, killed and knocked out of the park.
What were your initial thoughts on the album? Let's start there. Like when you first heard it, what did you think about it?
Sure. So honestly, I think what kind of blew me away, or not really blew me away, but was kind of like a step back for me was, with all of these big songs like bombastic hooks that we're used to from Doja and, high energy types of things. We just got Kiss Me More at the beginning of the year, and we're excited for the summer. And we get the album, and it's a lot more chill than I expect it to be.
Yeah.
And not in like a bad way. It's more like if you go back, a lot of her albums are very much like that too. But I didn't know, with like we were just saying, with her being in her imperial phase of pop and rap right now, what could that look like for her? So I think she blended it pretty well in terms of Doja Cat vibeness,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. You do have those pop hits, those singles ready to go. You have your chiller hits, those ones that also accentuate her rapping.
Mhm.
Um, a little bit of everything in between. So the first listen, I was like, what is this? I wasn't expecting this. But then we just talked about earlier today about how she released her deluxe album yesterday on
Mhm.
Sunday, and give it a re-listen just like you, because you can't just like not
Yep.
listen to it album once. It's a fair assessment. And I definitely vibed with it the second time around. Uh,
Mhm.
Definitely have a few favorites now. Some are on the gym playlist, some are on the party playlist, some are the chilling, going to bed playlist, like
Yeah.
everything about it.
Yeah, I was listening to it, I think probably maybe twice today, just going through it again to kind of jog memory. And yeah, I would agree with that too. Like there are some songs that are a lot more slow, and there are some songs that are really like up and like get you out and get you on your feet and stuff like that. Obviously, we mentioned Kiss Me More too. Like that song, as soon as it dropped, I knew it was going to be a summer song. And I think that's something, and you can give yourself a plug here too. That's something you actually brought up on your own podcast, didn't you?
Oh, stop. I did. Yes. So I also do a podcast, People of On Rotation. I do the Very Important Music podcast, and my co-host Jen and I did an episode ranking the possible songs of the summer, and I rated Kiss Me More as the number one. Just because it's got the beat, it's
Mm-hmm.
bouncy, it's fun, it's chill. Like sometimes you can rage to it, sometimes you can chill at the beach to it. Like it's a good every occasion type of song
Yes.
where like
Yes.
multiple moods and vibes fit into it.
Mhm.
I've been a big fan of it, and I also really love SZA, and she get more recognition because we need more SZA recognition out in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, she's great. Both of them together too. And they actually did an interview in V Magazine where SZA interviewed Doja Cat about the song and then also about the album in general. So they talked about a lot of stuff. And something too that we kind of mentioned earlier, Nick, you kind of brought this up with the collaborations and whatnot. She had been saying, like Doja Cat was saying, that this album is full of people that she just respects and she was so excited to work with. And it feels like for her that this album was like coming full circle. So just to name some of the people she collabed with, like she had Young Thug, she has Ariana Grande, she has The Weeknd. We mentioned SZA. The deluxe tracks too. She has Eve, who I love because like Eve's just a badass and one of like the original female MCs. And just off of those, like, what would you say about the different collabs that she's had? Like, was there any that really stood out to you, or like any tracks from those that really, we've said all the tracks kind of stand on their own, but yeah, like any of those that really came to mind to think about like how they work together?
Yeah, I think if anything, like I absolutely love the collabs of more than most of the tracks on the album. There's a few single Doja Cat songs like where it's just her that where she shines.
Hmm.
But I definitely love like the newest radio single that they're playing right now. They also put an extended version on the deluxe
Yep, that
version,
one's like
which
my
I love.
favorite.
I think
Yeah.
I think that's a whole new variety of things. Um, on I Don't Do Drugs with Ariana Grande, I thought that was interesting because Ariana Grande, vocal powerhouse already, but she arranges her own vocals and songs too. So
Hmm.
like you could hear like she just throws her like back vocals into other parts of the song. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you're even the main artist on this song. um, but they've already collaborated a few times on like Motive from Positions, and she was on the remix for 3435. When a good sign that you're gonna be a big artist when you have JID on your record, who's also an up and coming artist, and you're giving him a little bit of limelight.
Yeah, I actually
Um,
didn't know about him until this album and I saw that song. I was like, wait, who is this guy? But he's good. Like I really
yeah,
liked his verse.
yeah, no, and like that's when you get an opportunity to be on a upcoming artist who's already got big industry backing, like that's a huge moment. So like I know that he's been on a few other things this year too, but this was like damn, like okay, this he may be someone to look out for now,
Hmm.
which is awesome for him. Well, I was there, but I saw him in Coachella, not Coachella, sorry, Lollapalooza, back in 2018, and I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, okay." But he wasn't anywhere at that level where he could collab with, a almost A-list artist. So
Hmm.
you know, props to him. Obviously, Young Thug. What?
Yeah, Young
Wait.
Thug. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was Young Thug, and I was like, wait a second. Yeah, Young Thug. I think that's one of the first big things on. It's the third song on the album, I
Yep.
believe.
That one is Payday. Yep. And it's the third one.
Yep. First I was like, what the heck is this? And then the second and third time, I was like, okay, this is a bop. And I, like you said, you kind of took it right out of my mouth with Eve. Like, I think that Eve is just great. Like, and I think it's fits. I can't believe they didn't put it on the non-deluxe album because
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think it just fits so perfectly with Doja's vibe and like that like little bit of guitar bass twinge that
Hmm.
Eve would sample back in her rap days, and it's just like it's just great.
Yeah, I thought the
And I
same
also love the
exact
shout out.
thing. Yeah. And that was
What'd you say?
I said I love that. Like I felt the exact same way. And that song, for people that don't know, that song is Tonight, which comes like almost at the very end of the deluxe version. So I was kind of like, I was excited to see Eve, and then I was like, yeah, but now that you mention it, why didn't they put it on the original line?
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, no, the only other thing that she also collaborated with Gunna, but
Mhm.
YY, just it didn't really do too much for me. But
Yeah.
I will say that she doesn't technically collaborate there, but she shouts out Nicki Minaj
Yeah.
at the end of
Let's get into it. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Get into it. Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is probably my favorite off of the album,
Oh, no
honestly.
way.
Yeah, I was like, it was one that stood out to me the first time, and then I was like, okay, it's got a good blend of everything that is Doja. It's got the bouncy beat,
Mhm.
it's got the crazy. She goes in on the second verse where she's like talking about
Mhm.
Papa and Mama, and I'm just like, okay, trying to learn the
Yeah, like
words,
keep up.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that it's really good blend, and I know that we didn't talk about it, but I looked at the producer tags of everything, and
Mhm.
Y2K produced the track and a few other songs where there's like the whatever
Is
it's
it that
called.
cooing noise or whatever?
Yes,
Oh my
it's
god, I
the
literally was
loon.
gonna bring that up too. I was like, why is there this cooing noise? Like, it's so
Yes,
weird.
so it's the call of the loon, which
Oh my god.
it's an interesting producer tag because it's generally something that like a lot of artists who were in like the 70s, 80s, like deep house
Mhm.
genre would use for like a sample. And it's interesting here in a modern day
Mhm.
rap pop song because I can see the influences for sure.
Mhm.
But just to put that in, I think it's just like, okay, you're obviously there's a little bit of inspiration, I
Mhm.
feel.
Well, that
So
actually brings up like another point too. Now that you mentioned that, this makes so much more sense. Like another thing I pulled from that article I mentioned where she was talking to SZA is like Doja was talking about blending different sounds, and like this album you can tell she experienced so much more or experiments so much more with like R&B, pop and house and dance, like those kinds of genres on top of like hip hop, which is what she's known for. And she
mhm.
was saying like as she was kind of coming into creating this album, she found herself going back to those brands and those genres. So I think that's so funny that you brought up how that, Call of the Loon is something significant with producers in that music in house music in like the 70s, which is probably what she, like I said, she was going back to like house disco and like vintage sounding stuff. So that literally makes so much sense now.
Yeah, and like even what you were just saying too, like the first track on the album is called Woman, and it's like Afro beats,
Hmm.
specifically like derived from a little bit of reggaeton, um, Latin. Like there's just a little bit of everything in just that one first song, and then it just like continues to grow in the sense of, okay, we did this, we're switching up the vibe immediately. It's not
Hmm.
like it's not cohesive, but it doesn't blend the way that you're expecting it to blend with the
Yeah,
genres.
it like keeps you on your toes. It goes into like different directions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and like just thinking about that too, like the energy that the album brings, like there are some songs that the energy just like completely changes or slows down. I think one of them was Been Like This, which is right before Options with JAD and after You Right with The Weekend. Another one is Ain't Shit, which the first time I heard that song, I died laughing. I was like, oh, Doja. Like that one, she's just calling out all the men. It's just something that she totally would do.
Right. No, so Ain't Shit is my other. If I had to choose, I don't know if you could make that a radio single, but if you could, that's like girls' night club anthem to its
Mhm.
max, ready to go. We told you so. I could see it. I could already see all the girls. I could see it in the strip clubs. I could see it in the bars. I could see it in the strip club bars, like just raging. Um, but yeah, I had something to add and I lost the original thought. Um,
Yeah, no worries. Like some other songs too that I just remembered that slow down the pace of the album
oh,
was
yes, thank you.
Alone, which is right before Kiss Me More, which on the regular version, Kiss Me More closes out the album. And I thought that was
Mm.
interesting to save that song for last as well.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's the one thing that I wish I would change about the album in the sense of I wish the track listing was just thought out a little bit differently because Kiss Me More is not an album closer
Hmm.
to me. That's like I think Woman is usually like when you have a first song on an album, it's either gonna be it sets the tone for the album, right?
Hmm.
And I think what especially in the streaming world too, like that's most of the time if you're releasing an album, people are listening to the first song because they want to go in order. And that
Hmm.
gets automatically just is streamed more than most people or
Hmm.
most tracks on an album. And I don't know if it was an intentional hey, let's put the song at the very bottom so you have to listen to it to get to it type of vibe. And it just doesn't feel right to me. I think that like I would want it more like maybe number 10 or 7 for like one where there's okay, we've gotten the feel of it. Maybe you went down tempo a little bit, but bring it back up or whatever. But
Mm.
I was very surprised that Kiss Me More made the final track of all things.
Yeah, me
But
too.
it's hard to close an album, especially as an artist, because everyone does like, do I go the somber route and do a piano ballad? Like, do I go all out? Like, it's you can't win, I feel like, half the time. And some people are gonna love it. And the other thing is too, people are just gonna rearrange them in their own playlist of
Hmm.
whatever they're gonna do. So does it matter as much if you're on streaming or you're a big streaming artist? Probably not. But
Hmm.
that was one of the critiques if I had to give a critique would be track listing movement.
Hmm. Did you ever think at one point listening to it, and this might be a reason why people should listen to it over and over again, that some of the songs after a while kind of sounded too similar? Because that's something I look for too, like in an album.
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
did. And I just want to get the ones right up, the ones correctly. But
Hmm.
um like Naked was like the second song on the album. I'm like, okay, like it didn't wow me. Like
Mm.
it's just tough because when you're Doja Cat, like you have this meme personality, you're huge on TikTok, you put 100 million% into your performances, and then like
Hmm.
I get like something where okay, like this is okay,
Yeah.
but like I know you can do better. Like, um, Love to Dream just didn't really fit with me either. Alone actually wasn't really one of my favorites either, which I
Hmm.
also was kind of like I didn't want the album to end on that one either.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, just any of those. Like, there's definitely some. It, I don't want to say duds, but there's definitely songs that are stronger than the others for sure.
Yes.
And
100%.
I think if anything, there's a lot of people who like to put out as much tracks as they can because streaming numbers, people find their favorites, whatever. But one of the big things from, I think we learned from like Olivia Rodrigo right now, she put an album out with only like 11 songs
Hmm.
and it's doing insane numbers where it's like
Hmm.
it's in its fifth week this week where it's sold or it's moved over 100,000 album units
Right.
equivalent.
Yeah.
So, I see what they're going for. They're trying to get the numbers up. Go for it. I'm on that side. I know how it works, but I think quality over quantity for
Mm.
sure could work in her favor just because she is Doja Cat and she could be like a great album artist and have these huge tracks and doesn't have to cater specifically to the radio of like shorter songs or streaming specifically.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was my other main critique.
Yeah, it was
What about you?
interesting too, because yeah, I kind of felt the same way. I was like, this album just sounds like it was made to cater to a bigger pop audience, which is obviously like what she has, and I think it's kind of where she's going essentially. And from talking about to like her experimenting with different sounds and also finding herself listening to different sounds, like it seems like that might be where her label is trying to push her to. But something else I'm interested too that you kind of made me think about, Nick, is like, she had within total with the deluxe version, it's 19 tracks, the whole album. But apparently, she had said a while ago in September that this album was done and it literally could have been put out like yesterday, yesterday being like 5 months ago. But she was like, I don't want to put it out yet. Like everyone's expecting it. Like you kind of have to plan. So I wonder if pushing it back, she kind of went and made more of these tracks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think, especially with COVID, I think we've seen that everyone and their mother just wrote, made
Hmm.
song after song after song. Because why not? Like if you're not touring, a lot of people will tour for a year or two, and it's okay. Like I'm away from the public eye, but I'm here for my fans right now, and whatever. And that takes a lot out of you. But if you're not touring, like artists are like, what the heck am I gonna do?
Yep.
And like, for a bigger pop star like her, she's also on like the media route of going on SNL, doing some TV performances for like maybe like the American Music Awards or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
So that's also something that like to consider. But like if you're an art, especially as a rapper, rapping and pop, I guess could be two different types of genres, but they're so intertwined in at least the top 40 world.
Yeah.
Um, they intertwine, especially on like Spotify and Apple's today's hits, all of that jazz. Excuse me. But again, if anyone could like just represent or has shown from time and time again where there's just an album track that isn't pushed and the the general public just finds it, it's Doja Cat.
Hmm.
Like I think Streets blows my mind that it blew up the way that it did and had that huge TikTok viralness, and she acted on it. She dropped a video. She
Yep.
went for it.
Yeah.
And she gave the people what she wanted. She did the meme. She did the TikTok in the music video.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm all about an artist that takes full advantage of any type of marketing, jumps on things, whatever. And I think, same type of deal. Maybe there's a hit in here that you, I, maybe I don't like it. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's something that we just don't know. There could just be that one lyric that is gonna go, get it going, and bada bing, bada boom.
Hmm.
Which another great thing about the streaming era is that anybody can do this stuff, and anybody can make a song a hit song, even if it's not something that most people think about. So
Hmm.
yeah, I definitely think that she took full advantage of why not throwing more songs on there, or making more songs if she had the opportunity and the money and the back for it. Go for it. I do the
Hmm.
same.
Yeah, and I think just like her talent too, like I really do think that her rapping still shows on this album. Like she even said in the same interview I'm talking about, she always wanted to start off being a rapper and singing kind of came second, but she likes combining both. And her raps still blow my mind. Like she's really, really good at writing a beat. She's really good at coming up with some really interesting lyrics. Like even though we talked about naked, like the one line that just stood out to me was like, let me cordially invite you to this party in my pants. It's just, yeah. And then like need to know, which was another single she put off. Like that one's extremely explicit. When she was like, I heard from a friend of a friend that the dick is a tenant. Like all these just like outrageous things that it's just like how I kind of said earlier with Eight Shit. It's like, oh, Doja, but it's like something that she could do and get away with.
Right. And that's like sometimes you just got to be that type of artist. I was gonna say I do have a few favorite one-liners of I already
Hmm.
talked about that. Like I want to know that fast rap um from Get Into It, yeah.
Hmm.
But I also like I think it's Naked too, where she's talking about like she's like Ed Sheeran, you want to get to know my body or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, sorry if I misquoted which song it was,
Actually,
but
I think that's also Get Into It. Yeah.
oh, of course.
Like you did say it was your
Well, anyway,
favorite,
love
so.
the song. And then right, yeah. Also, and Need to Know, love the music video for it. I think it really set the scene of what to expect for the album,
Mhm.
just as a promo single. But I along those lines of a friend of a friend, there's one part where it's like poof, and it's like make this pussy alakazam or something like that, and I'm just like, oh my God. It's like right in that same vein or
Yeah,
right
yeah,
off that same part, and I'm like, wow, that's yep. Definitely memorable. Won't forget that one. So
yeah. Hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah. And just one other thing too to touch upon, because you brought up the music video. Like she did music videos for Kiss Me More, Need to Know, and You Right. And like she just this whole aesthetic that she's creating, as I let in and said Planet Her, like we're on the planet. Like we're literally in this universe that she's crafted. And it's just it's so her. Like, maybe that's why it's called Planet Her. Like it's
Yeah, I was
just
gonna say.
so like Doja. It's just out there. It's like what you said, like kind of mentioning her raps and stuff. Like it's just like unforgettable. Like it's just outrageous. And that carries over in everything else that she does that we've mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go for it, right? She's all about like 100% in. Like, I especially love the "Kiss Me More" music video because
Hmm.
she's like, "Hey, let's put an Asian American or just Asian lead as the male love interest," which is like never like something that people usually do nowadays. So like, props for her for that. Just like the representation there,
Hmm.
the beautiful like artwork and scenery of what that music video is. They add a little bit of humor at the end.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously some big budgets behind it, and I'm sure she's involved in the creative process of it because she's just like I'm going off of performances alone, like she could easily do the same choreography for each time she's performing a song, right? But it's always different, like, and I always
Hmm.
respect that for her. And I think she's got even more. She's still very young in her career. Yes, she has
Hmm.
3 albums out, but is this her imperial phase that she's in right now? Like it could be even more. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear from her if we hear from her sooner rather than later. I know she's going on a festival route, but I don't know
Hmm.
anything about her touring schedule moving forward.
Hmm. One last thing I want to ask you, because now you brought it to my memory. In
Yeah.
that interview I mentioned with V Magazine, when SZA was asking her questions, she literally asked Doja, "Are you ready to be the next Britney Spears?" Because that's the route I think you're going in. What do you think about that? Like, do you think she's on that kind of trajectory? Because that's a pretty big claim to make.
Yeah, that is a really big that is a really big claim. It's tough because everyone always wants to be Britney Spears level, right? Like every girl wanted to be her, every guy wanted to be with her. Like it was, I don't know. I think it's just crazy. It's hard to imagine anyone at that level of fame,
Hmm.
like there's not really a level of like the same mystery that it was before. Like you'd wait to hear interviews. Like Britney was always behind the scenes, and now like Doja can just everything's out in the world now.
Yeah.
People tried canceling her and she came back. Tried canceling her again. She came back.
Yep.
And like, I don't know, dude. I think that she's definitely on her way to becoming a Gen Z A-lister if she keeps playing her cards right.
Hmm.
I feel like it takes a while sometimes. You have like all of our people right now, like from the old days from when we were growing up, of Miley, Ariana Grande, who started from somewhere and now are like these mega stars. And this
Hmm.
girl, has worked her ass off, put stuff on SoundCloud, and just got notoriety for what she's been doing and has built her own fan base of her own. So I think she's got a lot of room to grow, especially in the general public. I would love to have her get like a defining song, which
Hmm.
I
I
think could
see.
take a while to get to. I always talked about this with another one of our coworkers before when we would watch Ariana Grande's like growth into the pop world,
Yeah.
and she was always very consistent, right? Like she always had at least one top 10 from the album. People were always interested. Always had like a summer bop. She was always in the news somehow, but very consistent. But it wasn't really until like Thank You Next where
Hmm.
she was a superstar to like icon status.
Yeah.
And she's just willing to throw out music. And like no one's gonna tell her otherwise because she's Ariana Grande. She can do what she wants. I think that Doja can get to that level if she keeps carrying on that stuff, but I would love like a signature hit of hers
Hmm.
where it's going to be defining for her, and then we have more people like, I need to see Doja Cat, or I have to get the Doja Cat merch, or like whatever. She's already got the Gen Z. It's the rest of the world that I think she's got
Hmm.
to conquer, and I think she's on her way.
She's on her way and she's bringing her planet with her. Well, Awesome, Nick. This has been great, Nick. I really appreciate you coming on. Again, Planet Her by Doja Cat. It'll take you on a trip, to say the least.
Heyo. No, definitely. Thank you for having me, my friend. I appreciate it.